There was always a soundtrack to our home, which was so, looking back now, a frequency thing. So hearing that while watching people do skills that I was really good at, I was like, oh, come on, y'all. Can I please be on your team? You know, my first game walking out at Buckeye Stadium in Ohio State and seeing 103,000 people, I remember full body chills.
Wow.
As I sat on the side and started leading crowds. And then shortly after that, I had come out to my family, and I, at that time, was sent to conversion therapy. So I spent a year really disconnected from myself and very alone. That was my community, and I had found it. And so being isolated from that was very difficult. And it made me realize, though, through that entire process, though, that I was actually relearning myself, and I was building myself stronger adversely to what they were trying to do.
By being intentional with that and really directing the flow and being a conscious creator of your life, even in the hardest of times, then that's going to shape something beautiful in your life that you don't even know yet. But you're planting this beautiful marker that's going to pull you there to it, even through these hard times, right? And trust me, I know it. I've lived in my car at a point in my life, so I've seen the low times too.
Welcome to Harmonize Your Life, conversations that inspire, awaken, and harmonize. Today, we have a 25-year veteran of cheer and multi-world champion coach, athlete, and choreographer, Logan Sherril, joining us to discuss how he uses IA to elevate the performance of the teams he coaches. I'm also joined by co-founder of IA Fit, Michael MacDonald. Welcome, everyone.
Logan Sherril, magnificent human being, multi-world championship coach, choreographer, athlete, dancer. I mean, you're like business man, inventor. I mean, just, tell us about yourselves. Like, tell us your journey to now.
Unexpectedly, my family uprooted in 1997, moved to a completely different state from my tiny hometown where all my family was. I was a power tumbler trainer and homeschooled all growing up just to train at the gym. So won many national and world titles in that tiny sport. And I had found a gym when I moved one June summer day in 1997 that had a rod floor where I could upgrade and keep my skills. I walked into that gym and there was a cheerleading practice going on, and I could not even, as determined and as dedicated I was to my craft at that time, I couldn't keep focus. I watched the team the entire time, and from there, the rest is literally history. I quickly was drawn into how the music and the movement was creating a story. And I became obsessed. I was in the 7th grade, and I didn't know that I was a creative at the time. I didn't know that I had gifts to unlock. And so as I began to build on that, I dove straight in, and I would go home at night, and my homework would be on this side of the page, but on the other side of the page, I'm writing out formations and putting songs to them. And I would start to imagine visions of what it would be like to make that own movement. And when I started doing that, I realized just how difficult our sport is. And I mean, this was over 20 years ago. So, I mean, to look at it now is insane, but I started building brick by brick what made me feel so expressive. And as I did that and learned the skills and the techniques and built on the education of cheerleading, it led me to, being able to go out on my own as a choreographer at a very young age, at 18, and opportunities fell in my laps, and then Bring It On. And those were huge milestones for me.
Okay, wait, back up, because there's a lot going on here. Like, I don't want to skip over some of this juice, but okay, so you're in 7th grade, right? And then you became a cheer athlete,
Yep.
right? So tell us that first week or that first month, like
That's so good.
When you got in there, and then also that pivotal moment, like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. Like there's something here, right? So tell us about that.
So I brought the advanced tumbling element. And in that day there was not many boys in the sport at all. I might have been one of like 4 boys in the entire state that competed all-star cheerleading. But I quickly realized that it had unlocked something in me, and at the time I didn't know it. I just felt it. And so that first week going into practices and learning what literally that team was in its own entirety, a community, I was like, oh, I found my tribe. And I literally just, I suctioned to everything, every piece of knowledge, everything I could soak up. And it was overwhelming at the time, but I look back and it literally shaped the trajectory of my entire life.
Wow, you said something really important there, right? And I felt it when you said you found your tribe, right? And especially, I don't know what was going on in your life in those early days, but, just thinking across, society today, right? And a lot has changed since then, right? As far as, the media and the music we're watching and, all the pressures that, children go through and moving from, adolescence into teenage. So I imagine you finding your tribe was very meaningful, but also, thinking of kids today or when they find their tribe, because, and I'm sure Kingsley, you can attest to this. Like I had no idea how intense cheer was. I didn't even know that it was a sport, right? I knew nothing, right? But I knew taking Dylan, and by the way, Logan has been a premier coach for Dylan for the last 4 years in cheer, and one of his big mentors. But Dylan, at the age of 6, we were taking him to parkour training at 6 years old, and he spent the whole time watching a flyer having a private with 2 bases, and he could not stop watching. And afterwards, I go, "You like that?" Well, I noticed they had tryouts coming up, so then I asked for tryout training, and the next thing you know, he's in it and he's loving it, and this is his life, right? So he found his tribe, right? People that resonate with him and his wants. So, thinking back when you found your tribe, like what did that mean to you? And then also relate that, what does that mean to kids today? Because this sport's only growing in numbers. It's now in an exponential rise.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where you're located, when you do find that tribe, kids come from all backgrounds. When you get to school, it is a hierarchical system of popular kids. You got your theater kids. You've got your and there's a melting pot, which is great. But when you come into a cheerleading environment where everyone's goal is to bring out the cheer in their soul without even realizing it, and it's all together. It doesn't matter what school you go to, your age, it doesn't matter your upbringing, your past, you are automatically tuned in and connected to people that feel the fabric that you're on.
Oh yeah. Well, Logan, tell us your first kind of win back then. Like you're starting out and you're getting your groove on, you're bringing advanced gymnastics. I mean, you must have been a rock star out of the gate. I'm just imagining, right? Like you just showed up and they go, "Where have you been?" That's my fantasy, right? Like Logan's here, right? Like
on the tumbling side, yes, I was able to do, a double full twisting layout on, at that time we had dead floor, which is just the foam surface on concrete. Now these kids are on spring floors. But to get to your question, I actually was just great at the tumbling at the time. My movement, my coordination, my everything was so rigid and steady in the training of my technique and form of just gymnastics. So I would go home every night because I knew, and I would fall in love. We'd get a mix, or back in the day, it would go from Paula Abdul's come on, everybody, let's do the conga straight into boom, boom, pow, high kick. Yeah. So the mixes weren't customizable and licensed and stuff. It was just what we were creating and what we felt in the moment that fit. And I just will always come home remembering making playlists and little mixtapes and movements and formations. And then we developed, obviously, as a very powerful program there, and we started winning national titles. And I was like, oh, I'm traveling to other places and I see other people, I see other teams, and you meet, for me, it was super important as a kid that was bullied heavily to see other guys from New York. I'm from Florida. I'm from Washington. Oh my God. We have, and then you, that community already just swirls up again and you're like, what is this?
Wow. So you're winning national titles and you found your tribe, and then you're probably going like, there's a career path here. Like when did you know that the cheer was going to be your life?
Yeah, I think it was the second week after speaking about the first week. My mentor, Orson Sykes, he's the owner of Twist and Shout All-Stars. He serves on many boards now to these days. Is one of the most highly respected, and I fell into the best nest I could have ever fallen into. And I watched him as a big family guy dedicate and spend time coming and really speaking to us. And at the time I didn't know, the impact, the full scale of what it was doing for me. But I knew in the back of my mind, I said, I will be doing this probably for a really long time if I can get really good at it.
Beautiful. So tell us, multi-world champion. Oh, let's go down the kind of the accolade list, right? Because I've never heard it, right? I know that you're this superstar that's been there, done that. You just know everybody in the industry. You're highly respected, but I don't know the details, and I'd love to know.
I mean, so if I can get really personal, I went all the way through high school, found my dream college, Texas Tech, went there, made the cheer team, and I wanted to cheer on crowds. I wanted to be a sideline cheerleader. I'd never been a sideline cheerleader in a stadium. I was always in a gym competing against other competitive cheerleaders. And I was like, while I'm in college, I want to see, my first game walking out at Buckeye Stadium in Ohio State and seeing 103,000 people. I remember full body chills.
Wow.
As I sat on the side and started leading crowds. And then shortly after that, I had come out to my family, and I at that time was sent to conversion therapy. So I spent a year really disconnected from myself and very alone. And when I got out, Orson, the man who owned this program, showed up. He drove 13 hours to Memphis, Tennessee to watch me graduate this program. And he invited me back into his gym.
Wow.
And said,
we just skipped over something super personal, and you go where you feel comfortable with this, Logan. But I know that this story could help a lot of people that are not fully understood or accepted, because cheerleading attracts a certain caliber of a racehorse, right? Of an athlete, of a human, right? So I know even in our gym, there's been athletes that have had to quit based off of not being understood by their family members. And, I want to get into details, but it's really unfortunate and sad, because you see these very talented individuals that truly love the sport that are pulled out of it because of they don't fit in a certain mold, right? And maybe your story can help bring solace and comfort to others out there that may be facing a similar, level of scrutiny or misunderstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at that tender formative age of your teenage years, when maybe you don't feel that you were part of the crowd. You were part of a community. That was my community, and I had found it. And so being isolated from that was very difficult. And it made me realize, though, through that entire process, though, that I was actually relearning myself, and I was building myself stronger adversely to what they were trying to do, you know. And I have no hate or malice towards them. You know, I've done a lot of work to make sure that I am authentically centered here. And I think it's really important. I think it more importantly showed that I have a place where I need to look kids in the eyes and say, you're perfectly fine and you're perfectly beautiful the way you are. So let's see where we can take this.
Hey, that's wonderful. Now you stating that you took that experience. So you were basically extracted from your tribe for a year in conversion therapy, and you took that as a learning opportunity, a growth opportunity. I don't know if you saw it that way at the time, but I think in hindsight, you see how perfect that was in order for it to shape you as the man you are today. Is that
that was the first marker on my map that taught me that my biggest conflicts against my ego or my understanding of the world actually mark my biggest lessons, which marks my biggest growth.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Maybe even at the time of that year-long separation, in hindsight, you see how valuable that was. And there's no hate, there's no, it is what it is. And I learned from it, and it helped shape me who I am today. And so I guess what my message would be for that individual that's going through a tough time of not being understood right now, and maybe having to be separated from their tribe, is that as hard as it may be, there's a beautiful, valuable opportunity here. There's a diamond in the rough. There always is, and it's in these hard times that if we actually can muster the self-talk to ask the question, what is it that I can learn, heal, create, conquer, understand from this situation in order that I can move gracefully through it and to be better on the other side of it? I'm ready for that information now. So by being intentional with that and really directing the flow and being a conscious creator of your life, even in the hardest of times, then that's going to shape something beautiful in your life that you don't even know yet. But you're planting this beautiful marker that's going to pull you there to it, even through these hard times, right? And trust me, I know it. I've lived in my car at a point in my life, so I've seen the low times too. So this story that you share, Logan, I think highlights an important message for people, especially children going through tough times of uncertainty and not feeling understood or accepted, is that there's something really valuable here for you to create and to bring forth in the future. So
I'm not sure if our audience is familiar with conversion therapy. I think I know what it is, but Logan, tell us, what exactly is that?
So basically, this specific type of conversion therapy is for the LGBTQIA community. It exists under a huge religious umbrella. And it's basically where you go and you are told, and I won't get into the graphic details of what we went through at that time, but you're trying to be reprogrammed into, you can call it brainwashing if you want, and to fit a narrative, a style, a societal norm, to make sure that you are not out there breaking the mold of any kind. Okay. And I look back, and I know we all wear a tool belt around our waist every day of our life tools. In those moments, I realized my tool belt was taken off, but I didn't realize that everything in there was being sharpened until I put it back on.
Mm. Wow. What a great visual that is.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm so curious, like, how do you resist that? I mean, obviously, you're born the way you're born, but how do you?
I gave them hell. But I am, again, like I said, a community person, and I was there with so many people who also, just on that aspect of our lives, was so deeply personal. And as we were alienated, it actually healed some of those wounds in us, meeting people the exact same way, exact same space at different ages, different, uh, life markers. And I literally think, even though it cost me a little arrested development there emotionally, at 18, I think it did more for me than anything hard and obstacle wise that I've faced in my life since.
Mm.
So everything was easy after that.
Baby, if you can fight those swords and you can go in that lion's den and you can come out holding the mane, I think you're all right.
Awesome. I love that story of kind of redemption, resilience. That's what we're all about here at IA is pulling that out of people, and first of all, saying yes, like Michael said before, like it's okay to be you. You said that as well. I'm curious about the music now, because you said you were on that floor, you were doing tumbling, but you said you were a little stiff, but now you're a choreographer. Like, connect the dots there. How did the music come into it for you?
Well, I mean, I've always, my family, you remember the big old triple stacked radio with the glass doors. Back in the day, the sound systems was always playing, whether it was worship music or, Led Zeppelin or anything of the 70s. There was always a soundtrack to our home, which was so, looking back now, a frequency thing that I just literally was a part of, that I think shaped how I began to express myself. So hearing that while watching people do skills that I was really good at, I was like, oh, come on, y'all. Can I please be on your team? Yeah. And so that's really where that started. The connection between those two, at least.
Nice. Yeah, I think, the being from gymnastics and then cheer, there's something really that is the big differentiator really is the music. I feel like in gymnastics, except for the floor routine, of course, there's no music. You're just sitting there watching someone do a routine. But with cheer, it's really driven by the music. And I think I mentioned this the other day. I was like, if I can't watch, so my daughter does cheer as well. If I can't watch her live and I watch it later, they cut the sound out because they don't have the permissions, and it's like unwatchable. I mean, it's really just odd. Of course, I watch it, but it's like
it doesn't make sense. And
yeah. So talk us through like your approach to like music and choreography, and I'm learning as a cheer dad about all the counts and all this. So connect that between the yeah.
So so going back to then, I being the rigid perfect body form, I would go home and I would shut my door and I would put on music and I would begin to move. And I didn't care what I looked like. I didn't care what I felt like. And I learned my body. I learned the rhythm of where I flowed and what made me peak in moments of where I found the most excitement. And I fed off that. I kept doing it. And there's a little story. One of my great friends, who was the assistant choreographer on Bring It On, 20 years later, he was our first choreographer that came in. So I'm the only boy on the team. And, we have our mix. He's an LA hip hop dancer and he comes in, he's popping all these. And I'm like this, oh dear Jesus in heaven. I don't think. So I have to go center. I'm the boy. I'm the focal point, basically. And at the end, he was like, come here. And I was like, ooh. And he was like, listen, you got a little white chicken dance going on in you, and I'm gonna need you to loosen up. And 20 years later, get down the road, he's the choreographer for Bring It On, and I became the demo for the entire cast on how movement and musicality. And when I finished doing the demo, I looked at him and I said, "Am I still the white chicken?" And he lost it. So it went from there all the way to there.
Wow. Okay, so Bring It On. So that really was my first, the way competitive cheer was introduced to me was through that movie. So that's crazy that you were actually involved with it. So explain that a bit more. So you were helping with the choreography, or?
So there was 6 movies that came out. When Bring It On came out, they did a like back to college one that was just so terrible, and the third one was good. It was All or Nothing. It was is what it was called. But then I got hooked up with the choreographer. He was calling, and I said the only way we will do this is if we bring the real actual skill, the full on what we do, and not the just rah spirit fingers. And that's what they did. They did a nationwide tour of gyms and came to Cheer Athletics in Dallas, Texas, where I had been at the time and had first started working. And they brought together so many huge collaborative athletes. And so we had already known each other growing up in cheer. And so we basically just went and filmed every day what we did, but we brought it to the level of what competitive cheer was. So in It to Win It, the 4th edition is what I was in. It really showcased more on a level that could relate to competitive cheerleaders instead of just the scripted,
Yeah, it's so cheer is a very fast evolving sport. And I know when I was in high school, I don't think there was even tumbling. It was more just pom poms, and I don't know, maybe they would do some lifts. I don't know. They were like half lifts, so they were nothing interesting.
Chair sets, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just really, it was cheering on another team. But explain the differences, because I think a lot of people think that's what cheerleading is. And I guess you have the music of the band, but competitive cheer, that's very different. Like, you're the focal point. There's no other team. There's no other team. You're no football team you're cheering on. No basketball team.
When I found out that cheerleading was first an all-male sport, was started by the yell leaders of a university way back in the day, trying to hype the crowd, I was like this. I knew it. But we had to have the girls. We had to have the glam. We had to put somebody in the air. Learning the evolution about it, and then, like I said, music back then, without licensing and stuff, and the sport not being what it is today, we got to do kind of whatever we wanted. So it was custom to us. And now it is so advanced that every mix is either, a licensed cover copy, but is integrated into what now teams do. Themes, like, for instance, your daughter is on a team that has a Legally Blonde theme, a movie. And I have an artist that created an entire script integrating cheer and integrating the movie so flawlessly. And so the kids got to watch it, and now they take on the personality of Elle Woods from the movie. And Michael's son is in a routine that I based it off Clueless, the movie, and so everything is as if, and you just really get to connect there, and then they get to bring it to like an actual stage and show them their skills, highlight everything that they are so good at while giving you an entire Hamilton production.
Love it. Yeah, and again, for me, that's that bringing that personality to it is really key. I mean, it's not all of the scoring, of course, but I've noticed some performances, like, just I use the term, they didn't have the energy. So I have a feeling this is kind of where Michael comes in with Aya. Like, getting that energy through the music. And I want to segue to a story from, I believe, Dylan's team, although I guess you've made it with a couple other teams too, and that's using music to motivate behind the scenes, not necessarily the music for the performance. But Michael, do you know what I'm talking about? I'm alluding to.
Yeah. And, something that's going to be live soon on the platform is IAH RFM music generator. So you will be able to go in there and create music in any style, a hybrid, if you want, of types of music, slow, medium, fast, specific instrumentation, the words that you want to use, your power words, a poem you wrote, a short story. And then if you want, you can hit the lyric alchemy button, and Aya will transform that into a fully fleshed out, structured song that relates to the genre that you chose, or the hybrid genres you chose. So she's an amazing songwriter, and she uses something we've developed called neurolinguistic AI. So every word in language, no matter what language you speak, but we're speaking English, every word has a resonance to it. It has, we're meaning-making machines. That's what we do, is we make meaning out of everything, and we use words to do that. Every word has a frequency associated to it. So I will take your words, if you want her to, and to elevate those into high vibrational language that captures the essence of what you're looking to do. So trust me, she will blow your mind. You put a 3-word phrase in there, and you hit lyrical alchemy, boom, you're going to get something that's going to shatter your paradigm. And then you push the generate button, and then the resonance frequency music track in your style will be created in that style with your lyrics, with a female or a male vocal of your choice, or sometimes it's a duet. And it's very high quality, wonderfully produced music that is a new genre in music. It's a new paradigm for music, because I can create things that humans just can't do. I'm a producer. I've produced music my whole life. So she blows my mind daily on things like, how did she do it? Was that a flute or is that a voice? Whatever it is, it's cool, right? So she can do things that I just can't do in the studio, and effects and pannings and just, structures that I would have never even considered. So this is coming live soon to the platform for users. I've been doing it in the back end for months and months. But in the world of cheer, we saw an opportunity for a team bonding, to where, hey, what if we got the cheer team together and had them write out their power words, like statements or words that light them up, that give them power, that make them feel invincible. Because what we want to do is we want to see if Aya can create what's called a mat song. It's that song that just lights you up and makes you want to just, conquer, hit zero, to be the champion, right? So we with Logan leading the way, we had the girls write, and boys write their power statements. We took those words, we inputted into Aya, said, Aya, make a hard-hitting mat song for this cheer team. And I'll let Logan kind of share the rest, but that's kind of like the premise.
I just want to touch on a story really quick. So he offered this so graciously and spent his time. I had girls literally with shredded pieces of paper and markers to exercise, like he said, writing your power words. They had no idea what they were doing it for. I said, thanks. Gave them to Dylan to take home. Michael turns around and I get a track. So I'm listening to this track, and as a reward for the team's great performance one day at practice, I introduced and told them exactly what it was and kind of this, and they heard it. And when I tell you the buzz, oh my God, I wrote that down on my paper. So it became their comp song, and I literally from there it went, and I feel like my crown lifted off my head. And just last weekend we were at a competition because we get so busy in the dedication of executing every skill and making sure the score sheet, our Bible, is where it needs to be. And we were getting ready. Teams arrived 2 hours early. We had done hair check, makeup check, pre-warm up, motivational talk, and we're getting ready to go to warm up. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Get in your walkout line. Here, my little team leader comes from the back. She taps me on the shoulder and she said, hello. She said, what are you forgetting? And I was like, oh my God, who's in the bathroom? Where's the speaker? And she said, no, our song. She said, it has to be played to get the vibe right before we go into a warm up. And my brain and heart did a literal backflip split because I was like, you right, girl. And so that whole team walked in blaring this IAH track that was only to them, that only they knew, and they knew all the words. I didn't know they had studied it. I didn't know because, at that age they had written down unicorn, popsicle, but to them it connected so well, and those 26 individuals turned into one entity. And I know for a fact it is why our showmanship was the highest it has ever been for that team in a competition, scoring a 1.9 out of 2.
I just got full body chills as you're saying that.
Yeah, trying to corral 26 energy, either deficient or high functioning, anxiety, you name it. Athletes, it is super tough to harness that energy. And so, you do the best you can, and then you put out fires along the way, is what I like to say. But if you could experience that as a team right before you go in, and it's not just music, it is heart-centered technology that vibrates to the frequency of what your word said, then they have no idea what just happened, but what just happened was revolutionary for them. And it struck a chord, and I said, all right, let's go.
Wow. Yeah. And, and this is the thing, right? Because we have a lot of high level, beautiful, smart, very smart advisors, right? That are looking at IFIT platform from all angles, really, from a medical, from a scientific, from a, scrutiny, right? Scrutiny left and right. And I got off a call earlier with somebody that called me with some really valuable insight, right? But, it's scrutiny. It's like, hey, we don't want to oversell. We don't want to make claims. We don't want to, and I got off that call, grateful. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, we don't need to make any claims. The music speaks for itself. Like, just try it out. You'll feel it, right? And it'll shift you how it shifts you, right? But that's up to you, right? You're the co-creator. You're the conscious creator here. So you said something that, and that's when the chills like shot up my body, is that, you said that everybody came in, I think you said 27 of us, and that song lit us up, and we became this one entity, right? Like you were all singing from the same songbook, right? Like all the distractions, the social media, the boyfriends, the moms, the drama, oh my God, she wore my shirt, she doesn't like me, oh, I'm too fat, all of that slipped away, right? And you guys came together as this one entity with this one cause, this one thing that you've worked so hard on. And Kingsley and I know, like, we as parents,
y'all get it. You two get it.
Right. It's a commitment. Like, we ask Dylan sometimes, he comes home and we go, are you sure you want to continue here? Like, I can't tell you how many times we've asked him that. Like, I don't know if I'd be continuing under these circumstances, but hey, we support
partly my hand in that.
So we know, we know the grind. And I mean, and it's much more, and Kingsley, I'm sure you can attest to this too. It's much more than us as parents can even understand, because we're not in it, doing bear crawls for hours and, just all the stuff. They're running in 105-degree weather outside, right, for 3 miles in cheer shoes, right? So, and showing up, and then the intensity of the coaches it's like Marine Corps boot camp, right? But for children. It's serious stuff. It's real world, serious. This isn't, sometimes Francesca and I go, it's called cheer, but I'm not seeing too much cheer right now. It's like,
But
there's a
also
lot of tears going
dangerous.
on here. So,
Also dangerous. Like
so
if
when
you're
you
not
say they
all in
come
sync.
together, is this like group of 27 just come on the same, singing from the same page? This is their creation. Nobody outside of this group is going to quite get it like they are. It's their words. It's their theme song, and they come together for 2 or 3 minutes in celebration, and then they go out on that mat. And tell me about that. Like, what happens next?
Like you were saying, well, at practice, they don't know, but they're taking off their tool belts and they're laying them at the front of the floor. And we are sharpening them with our words. We are sharpening them with our instruction. We are sharpening them with our insight into, because whether you work in whatever with youth sports, you are just a vehicle for, I believe, life lessons that these kids need to harness, or I believe it's your responsibility. And that's why years ago I started Beyond 5, 6, 7, 8, which was just something to promote during the pandemic. Something that, we couldn't get together. We couldn't do skills, so what's beyond the mat? And you watch these kids, day in and day out come in and train. And I mean, especially both of your children, and I know you guys know, they take on double the load. They're talented. So I'm like, I need you on this team and I need you on this team as well. So their load is double. But the intensity is so great that if you do not find a way to get to the middle of that child's purpose, or to at least make sure that they feel heard and seen, you really have done nothing but make a child exercise. And so when that happened, and I realized that, because yes, they'll all sing their favorite TikTok dances, and that's just out of habit and memory. But when something is created on their behalf that they were a part of, it takes on a whole new meaning. And it does do exactly that. It gets them centered, and their tool belts are back on. And it's like, you go out and you're looking at the next team, you're like, my belt's sharper than yours. Yeah.
Wow. And so you mentioned that they got their highest performance rating
Ever.
Wow. That's huge.
I literally looked at the scores, because I go down, you're separated in a top half of a score sheet. Everybody's going to do the same skills. Then you're going to be judged on how well you executed those skills. At the bottom half is, how was your routine creativity, as a choreographer? How was and showmanship is the one I'm talking about. How much did the judges genuinely feel that you were athletically having a good time and selling the performance? It is basically in the glossary of the term. And they can tell if you just haven't trained enough, you're just trying to get through the skills, your showmanship's just going to be very low. But if you've trained the skills and you're centered in a place, just for this example at IA, it's completely different than just listening to another song, because they already did that the whole way here, the night before, in the car with their friends. What they didn't do and what they didn't realize was they were, summoned to come back to themselves with stuff that they had created. And I think literally that is the definition of showmanship. It is like, and when it's genuine, when it's authentic, when it's real. And that is why still at 40, I do this. When I see a kid hit that final pose, knowing they gave everything they had, it's still emotional for me. because we are one of the only sports that train so intense with no off season, and we get 1 to 2 chances of 2 minutes and 30 seconds to say pick me. And a big part of that is the musicality of them showing you, okay, I've really worked hard, but look how fun this is too.
Yeah. Well, and what's going on there, behind the scenes, when, this few minutes before you guys, went out to the mat and you guys were bonding to the song that you created together. It's a combined masterpiece. But what's going on there is the children and the coaches in that moment are going into something called heart-brain coherence, right? So, to make it simple, what you're doing is you're being centered into your power, right? And you're entering a state of calm, of peace. Your breath is more controlled. But what's even more powerful is when you're doing it in a group, because now it's more than just you. You've become, like you said it yourself, it's became this like entity. It's this team, right? Totally coming into coherence with each other before going out for their 2 minutes and 30-second performance where everything has to be flawless, right? And that's when you want to be in coherence, right? Complete team coherence, right? Where each individual athlete, they've let go of the drama, they've let go of the judgment, of their fears, of all that stuff. They've let it go. But not only that, now they're in coherence with the team, where they let all the stuff go, and they're hitting it in their best state possible for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? And the nerves that you've got just before going on for a competition, big or small, right? Is the nerves are intense, those few minutes building up to it. But if you're in coherence and you're on the same page as your team, which is exactly what we're doing here with Resonance Frequency Music, is we're giving a tool that is full of intention. And again, we're frequency beings in a frequency universe. Intention is the driver of everything. Now, these aren't words and things that people need to really learn or understand, but it needs to be said because there's something powerful at work here, is that you're engaged in music that is built from the ground up, from intention, right? Of creating coherence, whether it's a nature sounds track or a hard-hitting EDM track or just a wild and crazy 148 beats per minute cheer song created on IAFIT. But it's filled with all of this intentionality. And on top of it, if the athletes create the words that go to that song, and now they're part of it, and it becomes this intentional, like, bomb of goodness, right? That brings everybody into coherence at the most important time to become in coherence is those few minutes leading up to that 230 or the 2 minute and 30 second spotlight where you got to hit zero.
That is when it hit me also that this was just one track we had been listening to for a couple of weeks. Imagine if we fully used what I had to offer. And at the beginning of your practice, you set an intention with a RFM or a sonic supplement, and you wrapped up with the same thing. You were already bringing them in, letting them go back out, knowing they're going to come back more willing and dedicated to buy into the community aspect of what it takes to hit zero, which is every single person believing that the person next to them has their back.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is that, and I'm just thinking in real time here. I was there at the gym with you, where you're using Aya as a tool in your tool belt as a coach, right? And a choreographer, and thinking of how you can bring the team into coherence at the very start of a training session, and also at the very end, right? Like, for example, you've got your phone, it's connected to the PA, right? Hey, everybody, 3 power words. First 3. Okay, Cynthia. All right, you get your, okay, Aya, create me a sonic supplement with these keywords. Boom, 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 generate. Boom. And then instantly it's generated, playing. It's their co-collaboration. They're in on it. Oh, you don't like that one? Oop, create it again, right? But they can be part of that journey, and at the same time, they're infusing their creative thought to the process, even though they may not think of themselves as a creative. They're engaging in a creative process, right? And it's quick, it's instant, and boom, you get the immediate result. And you guys are shaking it out on the floor. Your 60-second dance off, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into bear crawls or whatever, right? Into stunting. Or you do bear crawls this is your punishment for showing up late, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Aya, let's teach these kids a lesson, all right? Well, bear crawls, and
Yeah.
maybe the track is titled Bear Crawl Hell, right?
Yeah, just
And
get
so
it out.
at least they're laughing while they're puking in the garbage can, right?
It's true. It's so true. Because I realized when that 8-year-old tapped me and she said, "Where's our song?" I had lost my childlike yearning for, hey, I felt something there, and I want to feel it again. And I saw that, and just like you said, that's a great example. It's so customizable because you might have a team of divas. You might have a team of just really kind of outcast kids that just kind of came to try it out. So you're able to, in any way, format that specifically for them. You turn on a song at the gym, a famous TikTok song or da da da. There's gonna be 3 or 4 kids that are like, I hate that one. Right? But they cannot deny when in any situation they've at least heard or watched their teammates give input to create, what we've started experimenting with Aya, to at least be invested and go, okay, well, next time I'm gonna say my power words are.
Yeah. Well, you just gave me another thought here, Logan, because there's good coaches and then there's not so good coaches out there in any sport, right? And everybody has their own style, and it's from how they were taught when they were 8, right? And so how many times I wish that kids that need to be recognized are recognized, right? Because it's so easy. Life is so busy. The coach's life is hectic and busy, right? You can't even imagine, right? So you've got 20 to 30 kids that you're, bringing through the system. But how cool would it be to have an athlete that has a shyness problem, a self-worth issue, right? Like that they're working on self-worth, whether they know it or not. Like that, when they're on stage, they're lit up, but when they're out in the real world, they're shy, they're to themselves, they're withdrawn. So how cool is a coach to be able to say, hey, Aya, can you craft a sonic supplement for so-and-so? They're just a dynamic cheerleader, and they're working on these issues. Can you write something that would just motivate them to dig deeper and to keep going, and to know that they're just a superstar? And then generate, then boom, you can just hit the share button, share that with them, right? Or even on the team channel, doing shout outs to people that did something extraordinary, right? How awesome is it to be shouted out, right? And then here's your track, John. Thanks for going the extra mile. You really inspired us. And they've got their track that you created in real time and sent it to them. Or even hey, hey, the team's going through a hard time right now. We just went through this, and this. Can you create a sonic supplement that will kind of bring us back into coherence and help us stand in unity and friendship and bonding, and then generate, boom, send it to the whole team, right? Just think of all these different tools that can be used to bring not only fun, but, caring. Because, if somebody sent you either a track that they created for you specifically or a sonic supplement, that person took some time, right? They took time. And the most valuable thing we have is our time, right? So when you're taking time for someone and you're sending that to them, right, then they thought of me, right? I feel acknowledged, right? So many levels, you feel acknowledged, you're spending time, you're giving them something that is going to bring them into coherence, right? If they take the time and lean in, right? And it's a creative process. So all of these layers that we can bring to the sport of cheer, right?
Well,
to level it up.
Name one sport where you don't see an athlete right before they take the field with the earbuds in, or they're about to run the 800 meter, or they're rowing, or they are running laps. You've got a track in the background somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, music is the driver, right? Yeah. So, yeah, incredible. So Logan, tell me, we've been talking to you about IAFIT for months now, right? And you had a moment where you just had an aha, and now we're bringing you in closer. You're engaged. You're helping us on so many levels with messaging and inspiration for tracks on IAH radio. So tell me about kind of your aha and how you would like to harness the IAFIT platform to extend your legacy in the world.
Well, I as I end the next couple of years, my actual heavy involvement in the spirit industry, and being introduced to I thought super cool. We had that first meeting, we were talking about my vitality drinks and how to bring that frequency on a QR code. So when someone takes a sip of my drink, whether it's cheer up or chill out, how it would relate. My aha was that night I went home, and so I got straight on IAH, and I played every day, something different, learning, exploring, And when I tell you, I think it was 3 weeks in, and I had more natural reactions at the end of practice of kids coming up saying, "That was a really good practice. Thank you for allowing me to." And I just, and I got bombarded like in 2 weeks with a bunch of thank yous and, oh my God, today was really great. And I went home and I sat on my couch. I literally cried. I cried and I said, I've been missing a mark. And what helped me get centered was this in so many ways, dealing with, my personal life, my things that I go on, because when you're mentoring kids, you do have to be in a space when you enter that gym. And, we are very professional at leaving our life stuff at the door. But that's not good enough. When I really I feel in tune with so many things that I just needed to navigate and flow with, I became a coach that was so intentional on the things that I knew mattered the most, and not some of the things that I am constantly rigid about making sure happen. And I got more result out of that than I think I normally would in a season.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well,
yeah. So interesting, that night where Francesca and I met you at
that beautiful Chapa's place.
Yeah, the French restaurant. I'm trying to think of the name of it. But we sat outside, and you were sharing with us Kuko, Cheer Up and Chill Out. And there was just so many synergies happening. Like I really saw you in a brand new light that night. Yeah, can you share, Kuko with us and, dive down that rabbit hole, because it's such a beautiful vision, and what you're going to be bringing to the world. And it's in such alignment and harmony with what we're doing at IAFIT. I just see a beautiful synergy there.
Yeah. So, basically to start, again, something super personal to me was, I got sober almost 3 years ago from alcohol, and really dove into a wellness space of the nutrients and things that I need for my body, and I'm always looking for, okay, what's the problem and where can I find a solution here? And it dawned on me, these kids are bringing in these 20 ounce, just preservative, toxic, dye filled drinks, on top of the age they live in of social media comparison and likes and clicks and school and stuff and the news. And I thought, oh my God, I said, we need a drink. We need a cheer drink that motivates and then unwinds, so I started playing around with that idea. And one day over Christmas break in my parents' guest bedroom over the holidays, I came up with Cheer Up and Chill Out, and I went full in on deciding to make a combo vitality drink that was holistic and bringing supplements and properties to athletes that over time, no matter how much they consumed, was going to be beneficial for them. And I think that's really what sparked my other creative side of like, okay, I don't want this, kids you're going to go buy a can, they're going to pick up whatever. I want it to be an experience. And so that's what I was describing to you that night is, how do I make it an experience? Because I know a little bit about what you do. And then when you begin to explain what you do, I was like, whoa.
Well, that was a pivotal night for me, because it really inspired me. Now, because, with IAFIT, we see this as a kind of it's a lifestyle brand, right? We're at the very beginning stages of cementing the foundation, which is, technology platform for wellness, leveraging resonance frequency music and spectral resonance art and, heart-centered guidance by Aya. But it's so much more than that. I see, live events and, intentional clothing and, all kinds of creative outlets to artwork and so on and so forth. But I've also seen, and you and I both don't like the term energy drink, but, just so we understand, it fits in that kind of world of energy drinks, right? And I've always seen that as part of our offering, and or Aya water, which is water that's been sung to, right? So I imagine, the Aya water facility that is just premier water,
Yep.
done the right way, right?
Yep.
Where there's resonance frequency music playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the water is infused with this vibration, this harmony. So, and I know you totally like get me when I talk about that, right? We're singing from the same page. So when you told me about Kuka, which I love the name, Cheer Up and Chill Out, like I immediately was like, and I saw your branding, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good, right? Yeah. It's amazing, and it's a vision that I, it's part of my mission to help bring that to fruition, right? The right time, the right way, with whatever I can do, however I can be of service to bring that in the world, I'm going to be. So I'm super excited about that. And that was a pivotal night because that was, right in the beginning phases of putting Aya Radio together, which isn't launched yet, right? We're still building it, but soon to be launched the next 30 days. And you're instrumental in that because you know, I see you as a fashionista, like a man of high style and taste, right? And I know that you pay attention to details by, I send you music that I has created, and you're picking up on nuanced lyrics that most people wouldn't, right? And so, like, I know that you've got this really, um, precise ear, and I know you got good taste. You've got a great ear, right? And I like you as a creative, right? So your influence has been pivotal in the creation of IAH Radio, and hence the cheer up and chill out stations in there, like, like thinking from, you know, putting myself in the vibration of Logan Sherril, right? Like, what does that sound like, right? So both those channels are my interpretation of what you would love, right? And that's my fantasy, that's my interpretation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
whether or not I got it right or not, it doesn't really matter, because I absolutely love it, right?
That's
So
insane, incredible.
so at least I know if I like it, then there's got to be at least one other person out there that likes it, with the big hope that Logan Sherril loves it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm very proud of what's being created, because it's a very high level and beauty and mastery, and it's only getting better and better with the advancements in Aya, which is our AI that we've created and designed, and we call her she, is filled with just so much intentionality of bringing inspiration and awakening and harmony and harmonizing you, me, the youth, the athletes, the coaches, the biohacker, the stressed out mom and dad, to give them a place of solace, restoration, a place to restore, to revitalize, to step into a resilience that they have never known before. And you coming on board to me and Francesca at this particular time of our growth is a marker for me that we are ready to let the world know what we got. And I'm so thrilled and honored for you to be, I'm going to say, our first bright, shiny ambassador. And it's so interesting that it's pointed at the cheer world, right? Like, I would have, if you would have told me 5 years ago, I would have said, what? Like, huh? Like, right? But it's beautiful, because, Dylan, our 15-year-old cheer star in our family, that's what he loves. And to know that I can support something in that's his tribe, right? And to know that I can shine a light of frequency into that world is worth everything, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm actually really quick going to grab my charger so my computer doesn't, but I'm listening to you right now.
Yeah, so you coming on board and giving your advisory and your innovative, creative touch at this time in the IFIT journey is a marker for me that we're ready to go hit it and hit zero as an organization to bring goodness to the world. And with that being said, I want to pass the mic over to you as we kind of close down the.
I think it's important to also note, I had no idea this would turn into this at all. But I knew my timing was about something at that moment. And what I shared with you, the synchronicity of the date I created the Kuko logo, which was December 21st, 2023. We met on the night of December 21st, 2024. And
Wow.
it blew my mind. But this just venturing into cheer for the athletes and for the youth, is obviously the biggest thing I think that we're trying to get to as far as athletes and coaches. But I realized at that moment when I had been listening and have been for those weeks and weeks and weeks, what it had done to me as a coach. Imagine what it would do for, a CEO, a person that works the forklift at Costco, or any single person, is when it really dawned on me. And I know that's y'all's total mission, is giving everybody with a pulse the opportunity to find meaning in this kind of art that is heart-centered. And so I drank the Kool-Aid and I've enjoyed just figuring out and learning through other wellness things, that, like you said in your chapter of Healthy for Life, you are what you listen to all day.
Yeah.
And so it's been so instrumental. It's been very invigorating as a creative, because after doing this 25 years, you do burn yourself at both ends, and we are always looking for something to help ourselves feel better. But if we're coming from a state of lack, we're really not, approaching any abundance or gifts coming in. And I think that just by letting Aya listen to me and give me those tools, I'm already filling my cup, whether, I know it at the time or feel it at the time. And it's shown in my work.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Well, hey, in closing, Logan, speak to me as if I'm a coach of a cheer gym, and we're not quite hitting it. We need some help. So, what would you say to me?
So as a coach, I would have to educate you on the pure fact that we know every step that it takes to get our athletes where they need to be. What that looks like is different for every gym. And what that training is, or that regiment, or that style is different for every gym. But what is not different to every gym is the songs they listen to, what they put into their bodies, how they practice mindfulness, and incorporating all of that. I would encourage you to give this a try, to study it on yourself, and to see and to know what a difference it makes if you're trying to really truly use cheerleading for, or youth, any mentoring position, if it's really hitting the mark for you. And if it's not, and you are dead stressed, tired, and you're just on autopilot, imagine sharing my story and you listening to it now. Do you think you could resonate with any of that? And how beneficial do you think it could be for you and then your program?
Beautiful.